Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to The Deep Dive, the place where we take the densest sources and distill them into the essential knowledge you need to navigate, well, the complexities of the modern world.
Today, we are really undertaking a critical mission, defining this new age of conformity. We're diving deep into the concept of the chilling effect, but we're leaving the tired, narrow textbook definition way behind.
Yeah, this deep dive is guided by the foundational work of scholars like Jonathon Penney, who have given us this bold and really essential new framework for understanding surveillance in the digital age.
We're starting with a premise that it's shifted from dystopian sci-fi to just common knowledge.
Right. We all live under a matrix of real-time digital surveillance. The security technologist Bruce Schneier, he's very clear on this. Our lives, our communications, our searches, our movements are all subject to this continuous algorithmic analysis.
By big tech, by government agencies, we all feel this, intuitively. But the crucial insight here, and what these sources really deliver, is that the real harm extends far beyond just the personal loss of privacy. That loss is real enough, of course.
Why?
Schneier calls this entire surveillance ecosystem corrosive to civic deliberation. And Penney, building on that, argues that this environment actively induces, conforming and compliant behavior on a mass scale.
And that right there fundamentally degrades rights, freedoms, and the very health of democracy itself.
It does.
I think that's the central challenge of this deep dive. The old metaphor of self-censorship, the simple act of choosing not to speak, is just woefully inadequate now.
It's an outdated model.
Yeah. If the goal of power is compliance, then silencing us is just step one. Step two is making us want to be quiet.
Or worse, making us say exactly what they want to hear.
Exactly.
And that is our core mission today. To equip you, the learner, with the intellectual toolset to understand the mechanics of this compulsion. We need to see how modern digital surveillance, combined with law and, social pressure, operates not just to deter dissent.
But to actively compel conformity and compliance.
Precisely. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Scholars like Vicki Nash and Lisa Austin, they point out this isn't just some academic exercise in quantifying privacy harms.
No.
We are diagnosing a severe underlying illness affecting the fundamental health of civil society. The moment you move past thinking of chill as just an absence of activity.
And see it as the production of conforming activity.
The entire landscape shifts.
Okay, so to understand how we got here, we need to set the stage. We need some critical milestones that, prove the existence and the scale of this whole problem.
That's right. And that means going back just over a decade.
To the summer of 2013, the Snowden revelations. That was the first real seismic shift that brought the reality of total surveillance into the public consciousness.
Absolutely right. Edward Snowden, the former NSA contractor, he leaked this massive trove of classified documents. And they detail these highly secretive, incredibly extensive mass surveillance programs.
Operated by the U.S. government, but often in collaboration with intelligence allies across the globe.
Right. And what's so crucial for you to grasp here is just the sheer scope of the programs that were exposed. Take PRISM, for instance.
Okay.
We learned that the NSA and the FBI were tapping directly into the main servers of 9 leading U.S. internet and social media companies.
We're talking Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, Apple.
The big ones, all of them. And they were quietly extracting just vast amounts of personal data, chat logs, emails, audio, video data, connection info.
This wasn't about catching one specific person. This was about systematically indexing human communication on a massive scale.
And that's just PRISM.
Yeah.
Then you had XKeyscore. The documents revealed that this system allowed analysts to collect, analyze, and probe these massive troves of online content. The sources called it nearly everything a user does on the internet.
Let's pause on XKeyscore for a second, because the technical capability is what makes the chill so potent. It wasn't just tracking phone calls.
No, not at all. The system indexed everything from emails and social media activity to your search history, even files you uploaded to the cloud.
So an analyst could, just type in an email address and pull everything up?
With relative ease. Search by email, IP address, even keywords, and pull up detailed personal records, it felt like. Like total digital omniscience.
And this wasn't just a U.S. operation. There was Echelon.
The global collaboration, the US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all systematically tapping into global digital telecommunications.
So the revelation of this interconnected, massive, state-sponsored surveillance mechanism working hand in glove with the corporations we use every single day.
It made the dystopian futures of Orwell's 1984 or Huxley's Brave New World feel instantly real.
It proved the existence of a surveillance industrial complex.
It did. The threat was no longer abstract, it was specific, and it involved both big government and big business.
Right.
And the immediate measurable impact of this revelation was quantified by Penney's empirical study on Wikipedia use.
Okay, this is fascinating. What did he do?
He looked at traffic data for articles considered privacy sensitive. So topics like dirty bomb, suicide attack, Al-Qaeda, other contentious national security matters. And he looked at the month immediately following the leaks in June 2013.
And what did the data show?
The study revealed a sudden, massive, and statistically significant 25% drop in total article views for those sensitive subjects.
25% in 1 month.
In 1 month. That translated to 693,617 fewer views. Think about that. The reading habits of literally tens of millions of people were demonstrably chilled.
So people just stopped looking up information.
They suddenly became aware their activities were being monitored, and in response, they curtailed their desire to seek out information on sensitive or politically contentious matters.
That is the empirical proof that mass surveillance corrodes civic deliberation and, I guess, reduces political literacy.
Exactly. And crucially, the sources note that the threats only grew in scope after 2013. This wasn't a one-off.
No. Then we saw the 2018 Cambridge Analytica scandal, which showed the corporate side of the equation.
Harvesting data from 87 million Facebook profiles to build psychographic profiles for political influence operations. The data was weaponized.
Using algorithms. And then just a couple of years later, Clearview AI showed us the terrifying scope of modern biometric surveillance.
Right. This company scraped billions of facial images from public social media profiles to train an AI-powered facial recognition technology application.
With staggering accuracy,
Yeah.
like 98.6% or something.
And then they secretly marketed this immense capability to thousands of police services globally, so the threat is constantly evolving, always integrating new computational technologies to maximize its scale and reach.
So we have the scale, we understand the urgency. But before we fully embrace this new theory of conformity, we have to understand why the old definitions failed so spectacularly.
Let's do it.
So the traditional theory of chilling effects, which we mentioned, it's often associated with the McCarthy era. It's largely centered on the fear of legal harm. How did the legal system traditionally see this?
Traditionally, particularly in U.S. constitutional law coming out of First Amendment challenges, a chilling effect was seen purely as a deterrent effect. The idea was based on what we call the rational actor model.
Okay, so a rational person would weigh the pros and cons.
Exactly. You'd weigh the benefits of engaging in a lawful activity, like protected speech, against the rational fear and cost of potential legal punishment, fines, imprisonment, civil liability.
So it was viewed as this cold, calculated cost-benefit decision. If a law was vague or the consequences were high, I might just steer clear to avoid the risk.
And the outcome the law focused on was exclusively self-censorship, the quantifiable absence or lack of speaking or acting.
And for decades, that's what dominated. But the critique is twofold. First, it's just too narrow.
Way too narrow. It can only account for legal consequences. It can't explain the vast majority of modern chilling effects where the threat isn't a jail sentence, it's surveillance, professional reprisal, or personal threats online.
And the second critique, this rational actor fallacy, that's what really undermines the traditional model, isn't it? It just assumes perfect information and perfect rationality.
It does. It assumes people are always making a conscious, calculated decision based on legal risk. But the empirical evidence just doesn't support that.
People don't know the law that well.
Not at all. Studies show the average citizen is often ignorant of the precise laws governing their conduct. So why would they be deterred by a specific law they don't even know exists?
I follow that. If the threat has to be a known legal punishment, most modern surveillance harms wouldn't count as chilling because, the NSA isn't going to sue me for reading a Wikipedia article.
Exactly. And that gap led to the next evolution, privacy-based theories. Daniel Solov's work, for instance, helped advance the concept by viewing chilling effects as a result of privacy harms, like being subjected to surveillance.
Okay. And that was a big step forward. It broadened the scope, linking chill to core individual interests like autonomy, self-development, personal freedom.
Yes, and crucially, it provided a solid theoretical foundation to critique the private sector's actions, Google, Facebook, not just the state. That evolution was essential for grappling with the age of surveillance capitalism.
But even the privacy theories, they still often relied on that deterrence model, didn't they? It was still framed as the rational avoidance of privacy risks. So where did that break down?
The flaw is that they still lack explanatory power for situations where concrete legal or privacy harms are not immediately present or rationally avoidable.
Like what?
Like, why would someone conform purely because of social pressure? Or just because they feel watched, even if they know the observation might be artificial or legally harmless?
You're saying we need a theory that accounts for behavior that looks exactly like chilling. Less originality, more conformity, but it arises purely from the social context, from psychological factors, and the perceived power of the observer, not a specific known risk.
Precisely. If we only define chill as a rational decision not to speak, we are missing the vast majority of behavior that power structures actually want to encourage.
Right.
We need to move beyond simple deterrence and recognize that the goal of power, whether it's big tech or big government, isn't just to silence us, it's to mold us into predictable, compliant units.
Okay, so this brings us to the core thesis of this deep dive. The bold new framework that says a chilling effect is best understood as an act of conformity or compliance, a behavioral response to a perceived threat.
This is the critical pivot for our listener. Chilling effects are not simply deterrent, they're also productive, to borrow a term from Julie Cohen. They produce conforming and compliant speech and behavior.
Instead of just silencing dissent.
Right. Instead of seeing self-censorship as the absence of speech, we view it as a specific compliant form of behavior, a positive act of submission to a perceived norm or threat.
So the legal concept of chill and the social concept of conformity, they're basically the same underlying behavioral response, just triggered by different things.
Exactly. And anchoring this theory in social science is so much more robust than the old legal models because it acknowledges that our response to power is often deeply rooted in instinct, not calculation.
It's psychological.
It is. Social science gives us empirical tools to identify the conditions under which conformity flourishes. And there are 4 key factors that consistently cause or contribute to it. When these are present, the conforming effect, the chill, is greatest.
Okay, let's dedicate some time to these 4 chilling effect factors. Let's start with uncertainty.
Right. So when the law, the norm, or the surveillance systems are ambiguous, vague, or opaque, think of a vaguely worded statute, or you're not sure who's watching, like some shifting AI algorithm.
People get nervous.
They rely heavily on social norms to guide their behavior. They look to see what everyone else is doing to stay safe, and they steer far, far wider of the perceived danger zone than they would if the rules were crystal clear.
Legal ambiguity drives social compliance.
It does, and this ties directly into the second factor, observation. We're talking about the famous panoptic effect, or the Hawthorne effect.
The panopticon, right, the prison where the guard might be watching at any time, but the prisoners never know when.
And that uncertainty of observation compels constant self-monitoring. When people know they're being watched or are even aware of the possibility of observation, they instantly alter their behavior to conform to expected norms.
So surveillance becomes a tool of social control because it just amplifies the power of those existing social norms.
Exactly. The third factor is personal threats or personalization. This one seems pretty intuitive.
It does.
And the evidence supports it. Threats of harm or violence, especially when they're highly tailored to the individual, are among the most potent forms of chill. The more targeted the threat, the greater the chill.
This is true whether we're talking about ancient poets self-censoring to avoid the king's wrath, or modern journalists facing tailored digital threats to their safety.
Personalization dramatically short-circuits rational thought. And the final factor is authority power.
Right.
Chilling effects are usually quantitatively and qualitatively greater than typical conformity effects because they're exercised by entities with the most power, the government, the police, state agencies.
Or today, monolithic big tech companies.
Exactly. The threat from an IRS audit is way more powerful than the threat from your neighbor gossiping about you, usually.
That distinction is crucial. But I want to circle back to your point about instinct. This conformity theory gives us this crucial psychological insight.
Yeah.
We are, at a very fundamental level, just wired to be chilled.
Yes. Most chilling behavior often involves an automatic, immediate, System 1 thought process.
This is Daniel Kahneman's work. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional.
And often subconscious. When you're personally threatened, the response is immediate silence, withdrawal, or subconscious mimicry. It's an automatic reaction.
So the calculated decision to avoid jail, that's a slow System 2 function.
Right. But the sudden decision to stop searching Dirty Bomb after Snowden because your stomach clenches, that's System 1 compliance. The threat doesn't have to be a legal statute.
It just has to be perceived as a high-stakes threat to our safety, reputation, or social standing. The response is automatic conformity.
And to illustrate just how powerful these non-legal factors can be, how profound the conforming pressure of social norms is, independent of state law, we need to talk about the unlikely case study of Shasta County, California.
This is the perfect bridge. Robert Ellickson's 1981 anthropological study of ranchers and livestock disputes.
Right. Ellickson, a scholar of law and economics, he set out to test the Coase theorem, which predicted that ranchers would adjust their behavior based on specific legal liability rules.
So he expected them to behave like the rational actors of traditional legal theory.
He did, making rational, calculated economic decisions based on the law to minimize costs from their cattle trespassing.
What was the reality when he actually went and studied them?
The reality was that the law was practically irrelevant. He found that ranchers and farmers resolved disputes almost entirely ignorant of the specific cattle trespass liability rules.
They didn't even know the rules.
And when they did try to recall the law, they often got it wrong or even invented rules that didn't exist. They were absolutely not making rational, calculated decisions based on avoiding legal risk. It completely undermined the core assumption of the legalistic chilling effect theory.
So if the threat of the formal legal system wasn't the governing force, what was compelling their compliance?
Social norms. Specifically, norms of neighborliness and cooperation dictated behavior, completely independent of any legal entitlements.
And the enforcement mechanism was what you called extra-legal social threats.
Yes. It sounds like the analog of a modern online mob, but slower.
What does that mean in practice?
The most common form of enforcement was gossip and reputational ruin. Since many families in Shasta County had lived there for generations and planned to stay, damaging their reputation was an incredibly potent threat.
So they were afraid of being labeled unneighborly.
Or having their family name ruined, a threat to their social standing and their long-term economic stability. That is the aha moment right there.
Even when the formal legal deterrence utterly fails, the conforming pressure of social norms persists.
Exactly. The study demonstrates that the behavioral response-conforming behavior is robust whether the threat is the sheriff or the threat of social ostracism. This provides the foundation for understanding social chilling effects, the same phenomenon we see online where dissenting voices are muted by fear of social conformity, leading to a spiral of silence.
So Shasta County shows us that the mechanics of power are often deeply social, even when the law is silent or misunderstood.
And when we move into the digital age, we see powerful actors weaponizing both legal threats and social norms simultaneously, creating a chilling mechanism that operates at unprecedented speed and scale.
Okay, let's transition now to how these four factors, uncertainty, observation, personalization, and authority manifest in our modern digital reality, starting with the foundation of the modern threat. Surveillance capitalism.
Right.
We are living in the era defined by Shoshana Zuboff's work, where corporate business models, Google, Facebook, X, are built on the mass collection and exploitation of personal data. This isn't just advertising. It's systemic control.
Yeah, the source material is very clear. The core business models of the biggest tech companies are predicated on the mass collection and exploitation of personal info to target, track, and manipulate us for profit. This is where the double chill is born.
Combining the chilling effects of systematic observation with the chilling effects of profound uncertainty.
On the observation front, corporate and state practices, from the Snowden programs to this vast, decentralized surveillance industrial complex, they all employ systematic, pervasive observation. We are the observed.
And on the uncertainty front, surveillance is inherently ambiguous. I'm thinking of Zygmunt Bauman and David Lyon's concept of liquid surveillance.
Yes. It's fluid, shapeless, and it permeates every corner of modern life. The Internet of Things, the smartphone in your pocket. Because its scope, reach, and purpose are constantly shifting, you never know exactly who, when, or why you're being watched.
Or what data points are being correlated. And that ambiguity is what generates what scholars call regimes of self-discipline through uncertainty. We police ourselves because the boundary lines are constantly moving or are entirely invisible.
And we saw the direct, quantifiable impact of this corporate chill in the Cambridge Analytica scandal of 2018.
Right. When it broke that data from 87 million Facebook profiles had been harvested for targeted political influence operations, researchers immediately studied user behavior.
And the resulting conformity was just stark. A study found that 42% of users changed their Facebook behavior after the revelations.
More specifically, I think 25% reported actively self-censoring posts, and 19% just posted less frequently overall.
Crucially, 82% of users said they self-censor because of generalized privacy concerns, and 39% said that their posting was way less personal than before the scandal.
That's not just people leaving the platform. This is a vast majority of users conforming their online presence to be less personal, less revealing, and therefore less risky.
And that's tangible evidence of the chill's productive nature. The system didn't just deter certain political speech, it manufactured a compliant user base who presented as less authentic, less eccentric, and ultimately less useful data.
This leads us to the next technological evolution of the chill. If surveillance is systematic observation, predictive analytics is systematic pre-observation. This is where AI steps in.
Yes, to create a new, deeply chilling form of surveillance based on prediction.
We need to be very clear about what AI adds to this. It's not just speed, it's the capacity to infer sensitive data points.
Exactly. Data processing, profiling, and predictive analytics, enabled by machine learning, constitute an unprecedented observation system. The capacity to infer your age, ethnicity, political orientation, health, from seemingly benign data like clicks and likes.
It's a systematic observation Big Brother's telescreen could never match. The system observes the future by analyzing the past.
And this is where the sources draw a compelling comparison to the film Minority Report.
Right.
Ostensibly, the film is about psychics predicting crime, but its true dystopia is one of total surveillance, where law enforcement has the power of prediction.
Because a system with perfect prediction capacity is, fundamentally, the perfect surveillance system.
You don't need to watch everyone all the time if you already know what they're going to do before they do it. This shifts the focus of the chill from simply avoiding being caught doing something illegal
to avoiding being predicted to do something wrong, which creates a whole new level of uncertainty and fear.
And the story of Robert McDaniel in Chicago provides a devastating real-world illustration of this predictive chill in action. It moves from theory to tragic reality.
What happened to him?
In 2013, the Chicago Police Department used an algorithm to place McDaniel on their heat list. This algorithmic profiling was based on his criminal record, parole status, but also the arrest records of his friends and acquaintances and his neighborhood demographics. The algorithm predicted he was more likely than 99.9% of Chicagoans to be a party to violence.
So he was flagged for pre-crime. But the chilling effect was amplified through intense personalization and the authority of the state.
Absolutely. The prediction was highly personalized. A police commander, Barbara West, personally visited McDaniel to notify him he was being watched.
She told him what?
She told him, "We know you are on the list. Don't commit any more crimes or face the consequences." Social workers were also dispatched, constantly reminding him of his predicted status. This is the definition of targeted chill.
But he hadn't committed a violent crime. What was the resulting chilling effect? It wasn't just silence, was it?
No, it was profound system and institutional avoidance. It illustrates the productive nature of chill and a potential self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh, so?
Because the surveillance was so overt and personalized, his neighbors suspected he was a police informant, a snitch,
Damaging his reputation in the community.
threatening his social safety. McDaniel was later shot twice, and he believed the prediction itself put a target on his back. His response to all this was to entirely disengage from police and social services,
Avoiding the very institutions designed to help him.
He became a modern-day Joseph K. in Kafka's The Trial, trapped in a system he couldn't see or understand. The opacity of the algorithm created immense uncertainty. He couldn't defend himself against a crime he hadn't committed.
This is a critical takeaway. The new chill is about system avoidance and forced withdrawal, perpetuating his marginalization in order to conform to community norms against cooperating with the police.
The algorithm, backed by state power, didn't deter crime. It alienated and isolated the predicted subject.
Okay, so if predictive chill is subtle and systemic, let's turn to the most direct application of the personal threats factor. Weaponized chill. This is highly personalized, targeted intimidation.
Right. Online abuse, targeted harassment, stalking, and cyber mobs are prime examples. They leverage digital infrastructure to deliver high-volume, highly personalized threats. And crucially, these threats disproportionately target women and racial or sexual minorities.
The story of novelist Stephanie Feldman vividly illustrates how quickly a digital mob can use personalization to inflict severe chill.
Feldman's identity was stolen on Twitter, now X. The perpetrator launched this sophisticated, persistent online harassment campaign, portraying her with vile messages, including the dangerous fabrication that she supported white genocide.
Which unleashed a cyber mob.
A mob that targeted her publisher and employer, trying to get her fired, destroy her livelihood. She received daily threats and hate mail for months.
This wasn't a generalized legal threat. This was a personal assault on her reputation, safety, and economic survival. The intensity of the personalization just intensified the chill.
And the result was a classic intensified chilling effect. Feldman began to intensely self-censor her writing. She withdrew entirely from social media and became too fearful to promote a new book.
All four chilling factors were present. Extreme personalization, a feeling of constant observation, immense uncertainty, and the implied power of the mob.
Right. And while online mobs demonstrate delegated social power, the Texas Heartbeat Act, SB 8, shows how the state can deliberately weaponize the chilling effect using its legal authority.
This is maybe the most chilling legal mechanism we've seen in modern constitutional law.
SB 8 effectively banned most abortions after 6 weeks by outsourcing enforcement to private citizens, creating a system of bounty hunters.
Right. Anyone could sue doctors, nurses, even a taxi driver who assisted in an abortion for a minimum of $10,000 plus legal costs.
The intent was clearly structural. It was designed to avoid judicial review by making the state itself immune while mobilizing private power.
The law's complexity was a conscious design choice to foment these multifaceted chilling effects.
Absolutely. Combining legal threats with state-sanctioned surveillance, stalking, and personal threats from neighbors and strangers, it created an environment of widespread distrust.
So Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor's dissenting description of the outcome says it all. The chill was.
Near total. It effectively obliterated constitutional rights access within the state.
That is weaponized chill in its purest form. It shows how state authority, combined with immense uncertainty and personalization delegated to private citizens, can achieve repressive ends.
The new understanding of chill is complex. It is productive, it is highly personalized, and it is profoundly corrosive to our foundational systems.
So if we zoom out from these individual anecdotes, what are the systemic dangers to our society when mass conformity becomes the desired outcome? What's the cost to our democracy?
The first and most foundational danger is the corrosion of deliberative and participatory democracy. Democracy requires active citizens engaged in public reason, scrutinizing representatives, debating issues openly.
And if citizens are chilled from reading or researching sensitive topics like Penney's Wikipedia study showed, or from expressing dissenting political opinions, they can't do that.
Right. The public square becomes predictable and therefore powerless. And that quiet conformity has profound impacts on social progress. If people are constantly conforming, never dissenting or challenging unjust laws or norms,
Whether that's systemic racism or entrenched economic inequality.
then positive social change becomes impossible. The critical mass needed for reform can never be reached.
And this systemic chill actively entrenches inequality. The
Yeah.
threats aren't uniformly deployed.
We see it time and again. Targeted surveillance, predictive policing, online abuse. They're disproportionately visited upon racial, religious, and sexual minorities. We saw it with the FBI's COINTELPRO targeting Black activism, the NYPD targeting Muslim communities.
And the intense online attacks against women and LGBTQ+ groups.
This disparate impact leads to a profound social problem called system avoidance.
Right.
Marginalized communities suffer greater chilling effects, leading to targeted groups consciously disengaging from what they see as surveilling institutions, hospitals, banks, schools, government services, to avoid scrutiny.
Robert McDaniel avoiding social workers is a prime example.
And this perpetuates marginalization, as the most vulnerable are chilled from seeking the help they desperately need, all in the name of safety through conformity.
There's also the fascinating extremism paradox. Conventional wisdom assumes total surveillance deters extremism. But these sources argue that chilling affects conformity plus uncertainty can actually accelerate cyberpolarization and encourage it.
It is deeply counterintuitive, but it connects back to social norms and uncertainty. When uncertainty is high, when people don't know the exact boundaries of what's acceptable, they rely heavily on their in-group norms for guidance.
So if a group's norm shifts toward radical or conspiratorial views,
For instance, a study showed that awareness of government surveillance increased participants' tendency to share anti-government conspiracy rumors. The chilling effect reinforces conformity to that extreme norm.
so the surveillance doesn't actually deter the radical thought, it just coerces the conformist to adopt the radical group's view because that's the safest position within their social circle.
The chill accelerates polarization by driving people deeper into their group's established, often extreme, consensus. And what does this pervasive conformity ultimately yield for the powerful state and corporate entities?
Populations that are highly predictable and easily managed.
Which brings us to the future of chill: AI-driven surveillance and legibility.
Imagine a future where AI systems automatically interpret and enforce all laws in real time, sending highly personalized compliance microdirectives.
This idea, hypothesized by security experts, is terrifying. Imagine an AI system that knows your specific compliance history, your risk profile, your current location, and sends you perfectly tailored, real-time instructions on how to conform.
And if you ignore one of these microdirectives, say a warning about slightly exceeding the speed limit, the system knows. And that documented noncompliance becomes Exhibit A in any future enforcement action.
The surveillance system checks all four chilling effect boxes in the extreme: pervasive observation, immense uncertainty because of the AI black box, the most extreme form of personalization, and it's backed by the overwhelming power of the state.
It is, to use Frank Pasquale's term, an algorithmic authority.
And this is not just theoretical. We see experiments with this in China today, specifically with the social credit score system.
The sources cite a digital billboard in Luoyang, a city of over 7 million, where a jaywalker was identified by facial recognition technology. The billboard displayed their face, name, and ID publicly to shame them.
That system is fundamentally a massive chilling effects machine on a societal scale. The enforcement is automated, highly personalized, backed by the state's power, and designed to enforce both legal and social norms.
It makes populations more legible, visible, transparent, quantifiable, and thus easier to predict and control.
Conformity reduces outliers, making statistical prediction easier for surveillance capitalism in the state.
So the clarity of this problem demands a comprehensive, multifaceted response. We can't just chip away at one corner. We need to address all four chilling effect factors simultaneously.
The first requirement is restricting surveillance. This means outright prohibition on the most chilling forms of tech, like banning surveillance systems or facial recognition technology in public spaces, an approach the EU's new AI Act embraces.
And for technologies that can't be banned, we need targeted regulation. GDPR, for instance, which restricts data collection, must apply equally to both the public and private sectors.
But we have to be careful about the side effects. While GDPR was designed to reduce uncertainty, all of those "accept cookies" prompts can actually exacerbate the chill. By constantly reminding users they're under observation, it creates a sense of perpetual data valence.
So what's a better way?
We need new principles, like a duty of data loyalty, which would restrict collecting and using data that foreseeably causes harm, including these productive chilling effects.
Second, we must focus on reducing uncertainty, the core fight against the black box problem.
We need mandated transparency from government and corporations about surveillance and data use. But the real challenge is complex AI. Laws must mandate interpretability and explainability for systems used in legal contexts, like predictive policing. If a system's logic is too opaque to explain, it shouldn't be deployed where it impacts fundamental rights.
Third, we address restricting personalization. Given that personalization creates the steepest chilling effects curve, we must prohibit highly personalized enforcement, like surveillance microdirectives in criminal law.
And we must robustly tackle online abuse. Experts advocate for creating serious criminal and civil penalties for cyber harassment, cyberstalking, and non-consensual sharing of intimate media. And platforms must be held accountable.
This is the Section 230 debate.
Right. Changes to Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act are necessary.
What kind of reform addresses the chill without damaging free speech?
The focus should be on due diligence reforms, requiring platforms to proactively monitor and manage specific types of harmful, chilling abuse that fall outside protected speech, like highly personalized threats, doxing, stalking campaigns.
So if platforms provide the infrastructure that enables weaponized chill, they share responsibility.
They have to. And finally, we need to employ the expressive function of law to shift norms.
This moves beyond simple punishment.
Right. Law sends a powerful societal message. By imposing penalties for online abuse, for example, the law expresses a strong societal disapproval of that behavior. It can mitigate the chill for victims and reduce the prevalence of harmful conforming behavior over time. It helps reset the social norm.
So what does this all mean? The central lesson here is that chilling effects are a pervasive, profound instrument of power and control. They are not just the absence of speech, but a production of widespread conformity.
And the real injury we suffer is the slow, quiet erosion of our civic spirit. We lose eccentricity, creativity, dissent, social progress. We risk becoming legible, quantifiable instruments of power, undermining our agency and our dignity. The time to critically analyze and challenge these forces is now, before the chill is absolute.
It's also vital to remember that the greater the personalization in a scenario, the more a threat feels targeted directly at you, the greater the chilling effect. That highly personalized nature is what activates our deepest, most automatic conforming instincts. The System 1 response.
So here's a provocative thought for you to carry forward. If personalized threats and targeted tracking lead to the greatest chill, what happens when powerful AI systems become perfectly capable of personalizing legal expectations, threats, and even social judgment?
Making every digital interaction feel like a targeted warning from the highest authority.
Think about that.
Consider the quiet, automated conformity that already exists in your digital life. How much of your daily behavior online, what you click, what you share, what you research, is compliant? Not because of a moral choice, but simply because you want to avoid unwanted observation, uncertainty, or the algorithmic judgment that might place you on a heat list or harm your social credit score. That quiet, automated conformity is the true danger to your autonomy, and the cost to democracy is only beginning to reveal itself.